A weak, generic start with nothing outstanding to make it different from the others. The initial impression of Wuthering Waves 1.0 was undeniably underwhelming for many, myself included. It felt like another entry in a saturated market, failing to carve out a unique identity. The technical issues at launch further compounded this feeling, creating a barrier for players to even fully engage with what little the game offered at the time. Many wondered if Wuthering Waves would simply fade into obscurity, but we all were wrong. Proved by the developers themselves, from nothing to everything. Wuthering Waves ascended, with a story that is compelling, a soundtrack that is masterful, and the game that has undergone a wholesome evolution compared to its beginnings, as if they had started from scratch and climbed all the way to the top of a mountain. Every setback fueled its rise, and now it stands as the biggest comeback in gacha games ever. We can see the love, the quality, and how the game found itself. Kuro Games, the developer, solidified its own game and gave it its unique characteristics, which today define it as a standout entry in the world of gacha games. A game that found its voice. The Prince presents a game reborn, Wuthering Waves Ascension. Wuthering Waves version 1.0 was a disappointment. The game launched with numerous bugs that compromised the experience, leading some players to abandon it. The story was lackluster, with convoluted exposition and a protagonist, Rover, who felt more like a silent observer than an active participant. The world of Jinhsi was bland, and the characters lacked depth, making it difficult to form any meaningful connections. This rocky debut wasn't just due to poor design, it was the result of a rushed launch with virtually no meaningful updates between the final closed beta and the release of the game. Much of this rocky start can be traced back to a rushed launch cycle. After feedback from CBT1 in 2023, particularly criticism from the Chinese community regarding the story, Kuro Games rewrote 90% of Jinhsi's story. The prologue of Wuthering Waves. There simply wasn't enough time to polish everything. The team revised scripts, redesigned characters, reworked cinematics, and even updated voice acting in response to early concerns. However, with the final closed beta ending in March 2024 and the official release arriving just 2 months later in May, the development window was extremely tight. This short gap left little room for final adjustments, and while the changes were substantial in scope, they lacked the fine-tuning needed to truly shine at launch. Once they had breathing room post-launch, they were able to finally implement what they'd envisioned all along. And then, it slowly improves. The game starts to change after version 1.1, with Jinhsi's story. The release of version 1.1 definitely marked at the beginning of Wuthering Waves' redemption arc. The developers at Kuro Games started addressing the game's issues, refining the storytelling, and introducing characters' arcs. The stories of Jinhsi and Changli stood out for me, a 3D game that, in addition to offering a cinematic and deeply moving character experience, even created a child model of the character, just for the sake of telling her story. Yes, I'm talking about Changli and her story quest, which lasts nearly 2 hours. Starting with version 1.1, you can clearly see the care and effort Kuro Game puts into its characters and what they aim to deliver. It was also here that something which would later become incredible already showed promise. The background characters, the NPCs. Even in version 1.1 in Mountain Firmament, they were already well designed and detailed, which greatly enhances a player's immersion in the world. From that point onward, it became evident that this game wanted to be more, and I embraced that. Kuro Games even with the early title Punishing Grey Raven, brought a specific narrative philosophy to Wuthering Waves, and this is the secret behind Wuthering Waves' narrative. It is a character-driven story. Look closely. In version 1.0, Wuthering Waves was trying to tell a grand, complex story, introducing too many characters at once, as if it was trying to mimic its biggest competitor. But in version 1.1, the story finally found its voice. Why? Because Core Games began treating Wuthering Waves as a story focused on its characters, giving each banner character a well-developed and emotionally rich story. Instead of building the world first and then fitting characters into it, it's as if Core Games is saying to themselves, and probably to us, that characters matter more than anything. Only after building strong, lovable characters do they present the world to you. Especially, the female characters are written like heroines, and their stories are brought to life with care and purpose. It's clear now that Wuthering Waves isn't primarily about Solaris 3 or even the Lament, it's about its heroines. Changli's story is pieces with personal meaning. There is Jinhsi, whose journey in mountain firmament reveals the weight of prophecy, sacrifice, and unshakable duty. And the Black Shores arc, that revolves entirely around the Shorekeeper, placing her at the emotional core of the narrative. This focus on character-driven storytelling sets the stage perfectly for the Black Shores update, which delivers one of the strongest and most emotionally resonant stories in Wuthering Waves to date. Yes, the Black Shores arc with the Shorekeeper, that was amazing. The Shorekeeper's narrative, as I mentioned before, was a standout moment. The environment of Black Shores itself, while stark, served as a powerful backdrop to her narrative, enhancing the emotional impact of her struggles. It was during this arc that I truly began to appreciate the game's evolving artistic direction. While I initially found the visuals in 1.0 to be somewhat bland and uninspired, the aesthetics of Black Shores, with its desolate beauty and unique atmosphere, marked a significant improvement. The Shorekeeper's story is beautiful and deeply immersive. It feels like it's just you, her, and the world, and the game captures that feeling perfectly, delivering key revelations at just the right moments to tie into the larger narrative of Wuthering Waves. The character designs also began to exhibit more distinctiveness, contributing to the overall immersive experience, and it's through the Shorekeeper that we uncover more of the secrets of this world's past and solidify our role as the rover. It's something organic and beautifully told, with a hauntingly emotional piano and a striking cello that not only define the Shorekeeper as a character but also perfectly embody the tone of the Black Shores story arc. It was here that I truly realized in just 2 updates this game had already transformed into something completely different, and yet it still wanted to go further. 2.0 Rinascita, the point at which Wuthering Waves truly emerged as a confident and compelling title. Rinascita, meaning Rebirth, is maybe coincidentally a perfect name for Wuthering Waves version 2.0 update. It's a declaration, a statement that the game hasn't only acknowledged its rocky origins, but has completely redefined itself. In every meaningful way, Rinascita represents the moment where Wuthering Waves stopped being a game that might improve someday and fully became a creative force with its own vision, identity, and voice. Rinascita is more than a new region on Solaris 3. It's a testament to Wuthering Waves' world building, which honestly wasn't very interesting before Black Shores, since it was mostly infodumps and unnecessary exposition. Just having a lot of information in a world doesn't mean it's good. What matters is how you use it to your own advantage and how effectively it serves your story. Now known as Rinascita, this sprawling archipelago, once called the realm of 1,000 islands, is steeped in history where ancient spiritual traditions clash with modern-day tensions, especially between the rival Montelli and Frisalia families. Here, a star appears. Carlotta Montelli stands as a radiant emblem of this theme of rebirth. The second daughter of the influential Montelli family, Carlotta is poised, intelligent, and ambitious, yet unbowed by the rigid traditions that define her lineage. It embodies the very essence of the rebirth theme that it represents. The culture is defined by contrast between faith and freedom, structure and spontaneity. Rinascita is so different and unique. Festivals, performances, and communal rituals to animate the streets of Laguna, living traditions, sacred tales, and honoring the divine. Carlotta is very different from the Frisalia family. The Frisalias are strict and old-fashioned. They control Rinascita's religious traditions and laws. They want to keep things the same and don't like change. They use religion to keep their power. But Carlotta isn't like that. She respects traditions, but she also changes them. She uses art, talks with people, and sometimes breaks the rules to make things better. She mixes old ideas with new ones in a smart and creative way. Rinascita's improvements were not incremental, they were substantial and touched upon nearly every aspect of the game. The artistic direction, which for me only truly started to bloom around the 1.3 update with the black shores, got even better. The environments are now even more detailed, vibrant, and visually distinct. Each location feels meticulously crafted with a strong sense of atmosphere and identity. The character design have become even more refined, showcasing a greater level of artistic flair and attention to detail. Beyond the audio-visual enhancements, Rinascita has also brought refinement to the gameplay mechanics and overall user experience. While the core action RPG combat remained engaging, the updates have introduced new features, like you can literally fly now, which made the exploration in Rinascita a joy. The ability to fly added a new layer of freedom that completely changed how players interact with the world. Characters like Brant, Zani, and Carlotta shine in both story and gameplay, with strong voice performance and distinct mechanics that reflect their personalities. Carlotta in particular stands out for her elegance and complexity, especially in contrast to the conservative Frisalia family. This update shows just how far Wuthering Waves has come, not just technically, but emotionally and thematically. Looking back at the journey of Wuthering Waves from its sharp beginnings to the impressive state of Rinascita is genuinely astonishing. It's a testament to the power of listening to player feedback, the dedication of the development team, and the potential for a game to evolve and improve dramatically over time. For me, Wuthering Waves hasn't just recovered from a weak launch, it has transformed into a genuinely exceptional gacha game with compelling narrative, a masterclass of a soundtrack, stunning visuals, and engaging gameplay. The focus on character-driven storytelling, which truly took center stage after the initial updates, is the heart and soul of its success. It's a game that hasn't only silenced its early critics, but has also carved out a unique and impressive space for itself in a highly competitive genre. With that, this video is coming to an end. I've only played up until version 2.0 so far. I've heard some really exciting things about what comes next, but I'll leave that for the future. Sorry I didn't talk about the latest updates, but I'll be back to playing soon. And when I do, I'll probably make a new video focusing just on Rinascita. It's absolutely amazing, I'll definitely play it. And I'll come back with more thoughts on Wuthering Waves. And what about you? What do you think of Rinascita so far? Is there anything you agree or disagree with in my video? Let me know down in the comments. I'll reply to almost everyone. And whoa, would have thought that little game from just a year ago would turn into something so impressive today. Looking back now, it's almost unbelievable that I won't speak poorly about this game. It truly shut me up in the best way possible. Well then, I wrap it up here. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And with that, I close the curtains and the showdown.